Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome back to my podcast if you are listening to this episode in the audio version only. My name is Rox, I'm a Western tropical astrologer, and today we're going to be talking about the new moon in Aquarius on the 1st of February. But before we start dissecting this new moon, and dissect we shall, let me share a few things with you. All videos on my channel, all episodes on my podcast follow Western tropical astrology. I know I still receive this question. Secondly, if you want to work with me, you can book a live consultation or an audio recorded reading from my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. That is writteninthestars-astrology.com. That is the only place on the internet where you can purchase readings from me or live consultations. I know there have been some scammers, some impersonators around lately. I'm not the only one who was affected. I know a lot of astrologers had to deal with this. Essentially, I will never, and I repeat, I will never direct message you or ask you to WhatsApp me for a reading. I will not contact you via Instagram direct message to say I can do a reading for you. That will never happen. I am incredibly busy. I am booked almost 3 months in advance right now. So I basically will never need to reach out in that manner to clients, and it's just not something that I would do. So if you want to work with me, writteninthestars-astrology.com is my website. You can go to the services section and find the various types of reading there. In my practice, I use the whole sign house system. Why? Because I have found it to be the most accurate, and also because it was used almost exclusively for the first 1,000 years of Western tropical astrology practice. It was used by Hellenistic astrologers more than 2,000 years ago. It works. I have tested it. I've worked for the first few years of my practice with Placidus. Whole sign just functions a lot better in terms of timings, in terms of forecasting. Alas, if you want to work with any other house system, please go ahead and do it. It is a free world. It's a free country. But I know there's been all sorts of comments in my previous videos about whole sign versus Placidus versus other house systems. You do you. You work with whatever you want. That's what I work with, and it has been doing its job perfectly for me. Let's talk about the new moon in Aquarius on the 1st of February. This new moon is happening, let's see exactly at how many degrees. Well, 12 degrees, 19 minutes of Aquarius. Essentially, the ones that are going to feel this new moon the most are those who have planets in fixed signs. The fixed signs are Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio, around 12 degrees of fixed signs. So you could give it from 10 degrees until 14, 15 degrees of fixed signs. You folks are going to feel this the most, or if you have an angle at one of these degrees, ascendant, descendant, midheaven, IC, then you're also going to feel this the most. The new moon is in conjunction with Saturn. Therefore, a major theme for this new moon is going to be responsibility, and guess what? More responsibility. There's a lot of work that seems to be brought to the table by this new moon. New moons in general do bring in new beginnings. It's a new chapter that is kicking off symbolically for all of us, but obviously in various different areas of our life. At a collective level, at a mundane level, we may experience some sort of new laws and new rules coming into place. Something that has to do with the masses, something that has to do with society at large, because Aquarius is the sign of the masses. It is the sign of society at large. It is also the sign of groups of people. So we may experience some sort of new restrictions coming in. I don't believe they will have anything to do with the movement of people. I do believe some sort of norms are trying to be imposed upon people. I'm thinking mandates of some sort. That is a possibility. Astrology, please remember, it does not predict exact material manifestation. Astrology is only archetypally predictive. So we as astrologers, we offer scenarios as to how the energies can play out, but astrology is not clairvoyance. It's archetypally predictive, first of all, and secondly, you have free will. So astrology does not predict your free will. That's why it does not predict exact material manifestation. So please keep that in mind whenever you watch any astrological forecast. I will say this. This new moon puts the spotlight on the hard structures of material reality, on contraction and constraint. We may also have to deal with, let's say, restrictions when it comes to how we use social media or how we use technology. There could also be some laws that are passed that have to do with digital currencies, for instance, because this new moon is in a square to Uranus, and Uranus is the planet of technology. There is a definition of boundaries that is taking shape at this new moon. There could also be some sort of contraction that we hear of on an economic level. Essentially, the people may become aware of the fact that they will be affected by laws, rules, restrictions that literally impact how much money they have, how much money they can spend. It's something that seems to be impacting their resources. It kind of like squeezes their resources, I'd say. A new order is being established, and it's probably going to make a lot of people angry. On the other hand, I gotta tell you, there's something in the sky that's making me think that there probably won't be that many people revolting against this. Why is that? Because we have a minor grand trine in the sky, which is a harmonious aspect pattern between Jupiter in Pisces, Venus conjunct Mars in Capricorn, and Uranus in Taurus. So even though the spotlight is being put upon restrictions, it's being put upon new laws, there could be a sense of people having less resources to work with. There could be this feeling that something is being curbed in their life in terms of resources that they can use. Something may be curbed also in terms of how they use technology, how they use, for instance, digital assets. I would say we can expect maybe the regulation of digital assets. It could be crypto, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. It could be NFTs. It could be something like that. However, I don't necessarily see folks revolting against it because of this minor grand trine in the sky. It's almost like the world is looking at the fact that we're healing. There's hope. There's almost like a new path being laid out in front of us. We're excited to kind of like get things going. We're excited to, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but it feels good in a way to be able to lick our wounds and to move forward. And yes, we might not agree with every single law and rule and restriction, but on the other hand, there's this sense of like, I've got something to look forward to. So it's a mixed bag. It's certainly a mixed bag. Let's see how the new moon is likely to unfold for all 12 zodiac signs. Please keep in mind, folks, that I do recommend, if you know your rising sign, if you know your ascendant, which is the exact degree of the rising sign, I recommend only listening to that, not to any other moon sign, sun sign, and so on. If you don't know your rising sign, then listen to your sun sign. Why? Because there's a lot of value still in listening to your sun sign. The sun is our ego. It's how we identify ourselves. It's how we want to be seen. It's our sense of purpose, you could say. It's what makes us feel like ourselves in this lifetime. Or listen to whatever listen to whatever you resonate with. There's like freedom and liberty and still and we can still listen to the horoscopes that we want to listen to, so no one is forcing us to do anything that we don't agree with yet. Let us dig in. My dear Aries, Aries suns and Aries risings. Let's see what this new moon brings to your table. Let's see. 1st of February, the new moon in Aquarius is happening in your 11th house. It is conjunct Saturn and squaring Uranus and Taurus in the second house. It feels like you are committing to a new long-term goal, a new long-term objective, where you're working with a group of people that you may not necessarily, let's say, feel 100% on the same page with. You seem to be doing it for the money because the money seems to be good. You may also set a new, very ambitious goal for yourself of a financial nature, and you know it's going to squeeze every ounce of energy out of you. You know it's going to ask you to be much more patient and much more disciplined than you normally are, and much more consistent over time than you normally are. However, it seems to be a goal that you really believe in. It seems to be something that you feel like, yeah, this is what I need to do. I know it's hard. I know it's going to require me to plan properly, to restructure my life, but it's something that I do want to dedicate myself to. I do want to commit myself to. Some of you Aries might also join a new professional tribe, something of that nature, or like an institution that you are aligned with in terms of professional goals. You're feeling the pressure of your peers. Essentially, you could be comparing yourself to others. You could be thinking, oh my God, like everyone is so successful here. What have I accomplished? What have I achieved? But as unpleasant as that might feel, it can be a very strong motivating factor for you, Aries. So see what you make of that. My dear Taurus, Taurus suns and Taurus risings. The new moon in Aquarius on the 1st of February, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, is happening in your 10th house of career, and it is conjunct Saturn. For you Taurians, let's see, Saturn governs your 9th house and your 10th house. It's a new beginning, career-wise, that you're experiencing. You could be starting a new job. You seem to have stepped up the ladder career-wise, Taurus, but you're feeling a humongous amount of pressure on your shoulders. It feels like you've got a lot on your plate in terms of responsibilities. You do feel a little bit stressed. You do feel a little bit restricted in terms of just having a more kind of like happy-go-lucky attitude at work and in life. You do feel like you gotta be serious and you gotta step up your game career-wise. On the other hand, it feels like now you know you've got a lot more clarity as to where you're headed career-wise in the long run. Some of you Taurians might also welcome into their life, if we can call it that way, a new boss, a new source of authority. You probably don't 100% agree with this boss in terms of your vision for the business, for the company that you work with, for the industry that you work with, but what do they say? Grin and bear it, look at the big picture, live and let live, etc., etc., etc. Some of you might be launching their own business at this time, and there does seem to be, again, a lot of pressure that you're dealing with on a personal level as a result of this. If you're a Gemini suns and Gemini risings in particular, on the 1st of February, 3 days before, 3 days after, the new moon in Aquarius in your 9th house is conjunct Saturn, and it is squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 12th house. It looks like you are embarking upon a new educational path, Geminis. I'm thinking here in particular of higher education. Some of you might be applying to your master's degree, to your PhD. Some of you might be applying for a university or having to, start off your university applications. Some of you might start applying for citizenship or for residency if you're living in a different country altogether. There seems to be a lot of unknowns, a lot of obscure elements that you're dealing with because this new moon is squaring Uranus and Taurus in your 12th house. You seem to be called to integrate yourself, to adapt when it comes to building something with maybe people from a different culture, different cultural background. You may decide to immerse yourself in some sort of like new culture, but it seems to be something that you're pressured to do. Maybe you feel like you have to do this because you're in a relationship with someone that is foreign in some shape or form. You feel a little bit like a fish out of water. I'll say, Geminis, you may also reach a formal agreement with a business partner at this point in time, so sign some sort of contract, but the terms are not necessarily the friendliest. So let's put it this way, the pressure is on, the responsibility is up here, and you also realize that you're gonna have to make some compromises for this business relationship to work. Don't we all sometimes? If you're a Cancer Sun or a Cancer Rising, like yours truly here, on the 1st of February, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a new moon in our 8th house conjunct Saturn and squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 11th house. It looks like you are committing to some sort of long-term goal, my dear Cancerians, together with a partner, a long-term goal of a financial nature. So for instance, you might decide to take a mortgage together with a partner. You might decide to give a loan to a partner. You might also decide to maybe request a loan from a bank or request the support of some sort of external investor so that you can move forward with one of your long-term goals and objectives. If you do ask for a loan or if you do ask for external investment into your long-term goal, you're probably going to get it. But you're feeling like this is something very, very difficult that you've got to do. Maybe there's a lot of paperwork. Maybe it feels like you're dealing with, I don't know, like the bank or an institution that has a very convoluted system. There's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of shoulds and shouldn'ts. So you have to like navigate quite slowly and like maybe do a lot of reading and so on. It ain't fun, but it seems to be necessary in order to advance your long-term goals. Some of you might decide to maybe put some money into your pension or something of that nature. Might decide to take out an insurance of some type. It feels like a must or it feels like a should. It's not fun, but on the other hand, you probably know that you gotta do it, Cancerians. Just saying. Hashtag just saying. I mean, I am going to give you my own personal example. Of course, I'm filming this in January, so we're not there yet. But I literally have been, well, reading, you could say, reading up more on how to put money aside in a private pension. I haven't been doing the whole self-employed thing for a very long time. It's been less than 2 years, so I have to say I probably haven't been as diligent as I could have been in terms of investing in a private pension, but I realized, okay, it's something that I have to do. Well, no one's forcing me, but in my head, I'm like, I gotta do this. Just my own personal anecdote. I know there's gonna be people out there saying, you're not the only Cancer rising in the world, and that's true, I'm not. But I am sharing what's happening in my life in order to illustrate the astrological correspondences. This can play out very differently for you because astrology is only archetypally predictive. It does not predict exact material manifestation. Always keep that in mind. No astrologer can make predictions with 100% accuracy because you as an individual, as a human being, you have the free will to choose how you act or how you react to what's happening both inside of you as well as outside of you. So if you're looking for clairvoyance, astrology is definitely not the topic that you should be researching. If you are a Leo sun or a Leo rising, my dear Leos, you've got a new moon illuminating on the 1st of February, 3 days before, 3 days after, your 7th house of relationships. And this is conjunct Saturn and squaring Uranus and Taurus. It looks like you are probably entering some sort of business partnership, or you could be receiving an unexpected, maybe, opportunity to collaborate with someone business-wise, but you're feeling unprepared, or you're feeling like you need to do a lot of work. Maybe you're not 100%, let's say, comfortable with the new maybe industry that you're called to walk into. It feels like it's going to require a lot of patience, a lot of dedication from your side. On the other hand, let me tell you, Leos, that Saturn doesn't really play around. Saturn says, you just got to deal with this. It's something that you need to do. It is a bit of a must. It is a bit of a should. I don't know what the shoulds for you are, Leos, but something seems to be pushing you in the direction of maybe entering a business relationship that you feel compelled to say yes to, but it's not something that you're very kind of like happy about. Some of you Leos might also take a relationship to a new level of commitment, so you might decide to tie the knot. There's a little bit of pressure here, maybe. I don't know, maybe something's happening in the 3D external reality that makes you feel like I have to tie the knot, I have to tie... I have to say yes to this person, or I have to take this relationship very seriously. It looks like you're called to take a relationship very seriously at this point in time. Some of you Leos, especially Leo risings, may decide to very closely and carefully reevaluate your relationship sector. Sometimes Saturn brings endings. It brings closures. It feels like we're hitting a wall. Saturn generally brings some sort of external obstacle that we need to work in order to get past by. And relationships that are not very strong, or relationships that do not contribute to your karmic evolutionary path, they will fall apart. And I'll just say that. It is very possible. Just for you to know, see what comes up, listen to the voice of objectivity in your head, and take it from there, if you ask me. Of course, you have to do nothing of what I say because it's, again, a free world, a free country. Virgos, Virgo sun and Virgo risings. On the 1st of February, the new moon in Aquarius is illuminating your 6th house, and it is conjunct Saturn and squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 9th house. Some of you Virgos might be starting a new job, or might be starting a work project with a foreign team or a team from abroad, or you could be welcoming into your team a new member, but someone that looks at the world very differently, someone that comes from a different cultural background, someone that you don't necessarily see eye to eye with in terms of personal life philosophy, and somehow you need to find a way to work with them. It does not feel like fun. It feels like something that requires a lot of patience, a lot of effort. You may also commit around this time to some sort of long-term goal work-wise. You know that this is going to take probably months. You know that maybe you need to think a little bit outside of the box, outside of your regular way of dealing with these types of projects. On the other hand, it does seem to be offering you a possibility to utilize your creativity and your imagination. Some of you Virgos might also start a new health regimen. Why? Because something doesn't seem to be functioning that well within your body. You may be fatigued. You may encounter issues of a Saturnian nature. Saturn rules teeth, skin, bones. So you could start to take minerals. You could be advised by your doctor to what increases bone density, movement. So if you're dealing with anything of a bone-related nature, I do know, well, I used to be an athlete, and I do know that physical movement and working out increases bone density. But of course, I'm no doctor. You go ask your own doctor. Something needs to change in your mentality in order to deal with this health-related, I don't want to call it issue, but something is coming to your attention health-wise, Virgos, around this time. If you are a Libra sun or a Libra rising, the new moon in Aquarius on the 1st of February is going to illuminate your 5th house, and it will conjunct Saturn and square Uranus and Taurus in the 8th house. Libras, it looks like you need to take very seriously, and you probably will, I'm sure you absolutely will, some sort of creative project in your life, or you may decide to dedicate yourself more with discipline and self-control. You may dedicate yourself more to one of your passions and hobbies. It's like, I need to bring something into the 3D external material reality that utilizes my creative talents. That seems to be the major emphasis for you at this new moon. So that's something that you're probably going to kick off. You may also feel around this time like you need to approach a romantic relationship differently. There could be the possibility, especially for those of you who are single, of a romantic partner entering your life, but there seems to be an external obstacle. Maybe the obstacle is distance. Maybe they have to work away, commute, and so on. Maybe be away from your hometown for a longer period of time. This could also be a time when you realize that you need to curb how much money you probably spend on something that brings you joy and that makes you feel like life is worth living. I know, very sad. You may feel like you need to curb your expenses because it is causing trouble with an intimate partner. So if you're pooling resources with someone, your partner might say, why are you spending so much on XYZ, on shoes, for instance? Of course, I'm giving here like all sorts of like trivial scenarios, but it could be literally anything. So you may decide to spend less moving forward. For those of you who are thinking of having children, you may actually experience this happening in your life. However, it seems to be putting a lot of pressure on you. For those of you who have children already, your child might actually bring something to your attention that makes you a little bit worried, and you decide to treat it with great care. Maybe something that gets you worried about their mental health, I'd say. If you're a Scorpio sun or a Scorpio rising, the new moon on the 1st of February is going to happen in your 4th house of home, conjunct Saturn and squaring Uranus in Taurus in your 7th house. It looks like a family member might have some not so great news to share with you. It feels like you need to take responsibility on behalf of a family member around this time, maybe help them with something of a 3D material reality nature, help them with money, help them sort out maybe something that's happening in their home. Maybe a parent needs to move, or maybe they are dealing with some sort of issue around taxes, or maybe they're dealing with a health-related issue and you're just going to have to look more after the house. Some of you Scorpios may move into a new house around this time, but you are feeling, I will tell you, quite stressed. And you might also start rebuilding something around the house. It feels like a long-term project, that hence the pressure and the feeling of like, oh, this is so much work. Why did we get into this? You may also feel blindsided a little bit by something that a family member is bringing to your attention, something that they've been dealing with maybe privately, but that has been causing a lot of trouble in their life, and you're like, why am I just finding out now? So you're probably going to decide to step in, I'd say, Scorpios. If you are a Sagittarius sun or a Sagittarius rising, the new moon on the 1st of February, 3 days before, 3 days after, is triggering your 3rd house. It is conjunct Saturn and squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 6th house. It looks like you're starting some sort of new course, new class. You are entering some sort of classroom situation, Sagittarius. Maybe something that you're not super thrilled about because it's a hard topic that you need to study. It feels like it's really going to squeeze every ounce of mental energy that you've got. On the other hand, it does feel like a bit of a must when it comes to advancement from a professional standpoint. You may also welcome into your team maybe someone that at work, someone that you don't necessarily see eye to eye with, and somehow you're going to have to make it work. It feels like communication is quite difficult with this person. It feels like you're seeing them as quite unpredictable, and alas, you still have to find a way to just get along with them and make things happen, and so on. You may also decide to start taking let's say driving classes around this time. Whatever you're starting to learn around this time, it feels hard, but I can tell you it's going to be rewarding in the long run. Remember, whatever is hard, Saturn repays us for it in the long run, and it also makes us feel like, yes, this is an achievement. I did it, even though it required a lot of patience and persistence from me. Some of you may also decide that you need to purchase a new car or something of that type, and I can't say that you're thrilled because you probably maybe didn't necessarily see this coming, Sagittarians. Now, if you are a Capricorn Sun or a Capricorn Rising, the new moon in February, on the 1st of February, 3 days before, 3 days after, is triggering your second house of income. It is conjunct Saturn and squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 5th house. On the one hand, you're very excited about some sort of like new hobby, new passion, or you're very excited to have discovered something that you really enjoy doing, because at the time of this new moon, Uranus is trining Venus and Mars and Capricorn in your 1st house. On the other hand, it feels like you need to make some readjustments in terms of your budget. So I do see you starting a fresh chapter around this time, Capricorns, when it comes to how you allocate your resources, how you spend your money. You might decide to let go of some expenses. You might decide to cut out of your life unnecessary expenses. You might also decide to set some sort of ambitious goal. Because if you're one thing, Capricorns, you're ambitious. And if there's someone that can do this, it's you. You're probably going to set some sort of ambitious goal, long-term goal, connected with your financial security and stability. And you might say, I don't need to spend money on this. This is necessary. This is unnecessary, and so on. You might also decide to take more seriously something that is important for you and dedicate more money to it, even though, on the other hand, there's almost like a feeling of guilt. Whoever has a lot of Capricorn energy in their natal chart deals a lot with guilt. Why? Because you're Saturn ruled and there's so much awareness of the shoulds, of what you think society expects of you, of the laws, of the rules, of what is respectable. So there could be a sense of guilt maybe for allocating some money or for reevaluating your budget. Also to make room for something that brings you joy. I say, do what makes you happy, Capricorns. Life is too short to feel guilty. And do it in the cautious, structured, disciplined way that you do life in general. Or you do you. Whatever works for you. Of course, always remember, whatever resonates with you, take it as a recommendation. Whatever doesn't resonate, you can simply ignore it. Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings. 1st of February, new moon in Aquarius in your 1st house, 3 days before, 3 days after, conjunct Saturn and squaring Uranus and Taurus in your 4th house. It feels like around this time, my dear Aquarius, you're starting a new chapter of growth and self-development as the number one source of authority in your life. You're realizing the following: you make the rules of the game. You decide who you want to be. You decide what your life direction is. You decide who you listen to and who you don't listen to. You decide how you interact with maybe family members that don't respect your boundaries. It feels like a time when you are reasserting your boundaries to the outside world and you're saying, this is what I'm about. This is who I want to build myself into. It also feels like you're making a commitment to yourself. Maybe you're letting go of something that felt like an escape route, felt like, I don't want to call it an addiction, but it felt like a bit of a bubble that you could hide into. Why? Because Saturn is also the ruler of your 12th house. Maybe this is a time when you decide to move your body more in order to help you deal with some sort of like mental health related issue. Maybe this is a time when you decide that in the long run you're going to confront your shadow because you can no longer live like this with something kind of like at the back of your head, something coming from childhood, something coming from your past. You seem to have had a very powerful spiritual revelation. I don't want to call it an awakening. Folks think that spiritual revelations are this sort of like walk in the park kind of like bubbly energy, and it's like, this is beautiful, I'm connected to source. It doesn't work like that. They generally come when we experience breakdowns, when we surrender, when we can take no more, when we say, I'm done. And then the aha moment happens. So you seem to have experienced that throughout probably January. And you make a new commitment to yourself. And I say stick to it. I'm always going to say stick to your commitments. In order to feel confident and in order to live with ourselves. To be able to live with ourselves, we first and foremost have to keep the promises that we make to ourselves. We don't have to set these humongous out of this world goals and then feel bad and guilty and sorry for ourselves because we couldn't make it happen. Start small, or start with a promise to yourself that you know you can keep every day. For instance, you don't have to take up meditation 1 hour and a half every day moving forward. You can start by doing 5 minutes of meditation every day, and do that, and do it for a long period of time. Integrate it within your nature. That's what keeping the promises to yourself is about, because by making small promises and keeping those, you prove to yourself that you're trustworthy, and that builds self-respect. And a person who has self-respect can literally achieve anything that they want to achieve in this lifetime, because they know they can do it. Pisces. Pisces suns and Pisces risings. 1st of February, we have a new moon, 3 days before, 3 days after. It's always active 3 days before, 3 days after as well. New moon in Aquarius in your 12th house, conjunct Saturn, and squaring Uranus and Taurus in your 3rd house. So this is a time when I see you maybe starting some sort of behind the scenes work, Pisces, behind the scenes work that has to do with maybe institutions. Also, maybe that has to do with your mental health. So you could decide to commit to some sort of maybe habit that in the long run will help with your mental health. You could also decide to maybe join a group of people that helps you deal with something that you've been struggling with in private. It feels like around this time, you also become consciously aware, no matter how much you like it or not, you become consciously aware of the fact that you need to release attachment to an old goal. Maybe something that defined you up until this point, but it's no longer aligned with your long-term path. You might also realize that you are about to leave behind, or in the next 6 months, you're probably going to leave behind some of the people that were very close to you, your tribe, some of the people that gave you a sense of belonging. You might feel alone at this point in time, but when we are alone and in darkness, that's when we truly see who we are, and that's where power comes from. You might also decide to start studying something around this time that you don't necessarily feel like you can share with the outside world. So maybe it has this feeling of being, I don't know, like a cult or wrong or forbidden and so on. But there's a lot of curiosity there. And it also feels like you just need to do it. You might also around this time kick off a new chapter where you make a commitment to give more. A commitment that has some sort of self-sacrificial nature, because the 12th house is also the house of self-sacrifice. So you might decide to, for instance, do more charity or commit to doing charity in a structured way, because Saturn says it's not about doing it once. It's not about doing it every now and then. It's about committing to some sort of routine and rule and long-term goal. And it's about building something long-lasting. So even when it comes to charity, it's like you do it here, there, every now and again. You need to be consistent in some shape or form in this area of your life. If you have been dealing with mental health issues or with addiction of any type, you might decide to do something about it. And it ain't fun, I'll tell you that, but it does seem to feel like something that you have to do for yourself. Thank you everyone for joining. It's been a pleasure to do this video for you. Also, please keep in mind, if you want to work with me, if you want to book a year ahead reading, a personalized forecast based on your natal chart, you can do so via my website. That is written in the stars-astrology.com. If you prefer a live Zoom consultation, you can book the live Zoom consultation also through my website. And in this live consultation, we can address any and all topics of interest. Generally, what I do is we go through an overview of the natal chart, so big major themes of your life that you're dealing with in this lifetime, potential, skills, karmic lessons, and then we look at the year ahead. Some folks are interested in astrocartography. Certainly we can do that in relocational astrology. Some folks are interested in compatibility and synastry. We can certainly also do that in a live Zoom consultation, so it's completely customizable to your needs. You can also follow me on Instagram if you're not following me already. My Instagram handle is @RUXUnbelievable in one word. Rux Unbelievable. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to my channel. Thank you once again, and enjoy this new moon, even though it feels like it's bringing extra work to your plate. Work hard, play hard, you know? Bye.